Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Mostly Low Budget Movie Reviews. I am your host, Clarence. Thank you for tuning in. In today's episode, I have another movie released in theaters today, although it seems to be a limited release, and I see why. More on that later. It's called The Mean One. Now, initially, I thought this was a joke. I saw a trailer and I said, oh, there's somebody just playing around. It's a holiday horror movie based on the Dr. Seuss classic Mr. Grinch. But at the same time, it's not. More on that later. So let me get into this breakdown here. What is this one about? Well, we start out with Cindy catching the mean one doing stuff by the tree. And this isn't a spoiler. Her mom comes and interrupts and he is killed. We fast forward 20 years later, and she is back in the town of Newville, not Whoville. And she was traumatized from that night, PTSD and all of that. So she is there to go back to her, family home with her father and kind of close that chapter and deal with it. However, her father is then killed by the same creature she saw as a little girl, and no one believes her. And that's pretty much where I'll stop. I mean, from there, with the help of the local deputy, she's trying to find clues about what is, what's ultimately going on, what this creature is, and ultimately, get revenge. So what did the pros think? They came in at a 23% on the Rotten scale. That's with just 13 reviews, and there was no audience score at this point. But what did I think? Well, let me get to the positives, and this will only take me probably less than a minute. The actual concept is interesting. The Grinch, but in a horror setting. So instead of just, stealing toys or whatever, it's, an evil Grinch-like character. That could have been interesting. And then they tried to kind of explain the twist in the movie and kind of explain what was going on. So they did a little effort there, but yeah, that's about it. Now, where do I start with these negatives? I don't even know what this movie is supposed to be, really. It's listed as a holiday horror comedy, so I thought it was going to be like a funny parody type thing, like a scary movie, Loaded Weapon or Naked Gun from back in the day. I thought maybe it was going to be like that, but maybe with a little bit more violence. Now that would have made more sense and had the potential to be a lot better and be more successful at what they were trying to do. But they've actually played this like it was serious, but with just like a few laughs, like a kind of like a dark comedy kind of thing. So I have to judge it for what they gave me, and this was just terrible. I mean, the acting is barely B-level, but I don't even know if I can blame them really with the script that they had to work with. The script is terrible. This was supposed to be a slasher, but they decided to be really lazy and just use CGI blood for everything. Which even with a huge budget, CGI blood never really looks all that great. And this is a small budget movie, so you can imagine how horrible the CGI blood was. This was just hilarious. It was really funny. And for some reason, they thought slasher meant just throw a bunch of blood effects on the screen. So we saw, the Grinch like approach people and like move around quickly or stomp or swing or whatever. And then they would just throw a bunch of CGI blood on the screen like that was supposed to be impressive or something. I mean, none of the kills were original and they had no impact at all. I didn't even really realize he was killing people because he would just approach people and like throw them around or hit them with stuff. And then they would just throw CGI blood everywhere. So I really didn't know if he was really killing the people until after the scene was over. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess these people are supposed to be dead. So then they couldn't decide what this green one, in quotes, or this Grinch character was supposed to be. Now, the origin they told us was kind of similar to, the source material that, he was there stealing presents or whatever, and things went wrong. So that's how he became evil. But by the end, he was some kind of monster that needed to eat people. But then they never showed him actually eating anybody, just killing and then leaving them there. It's like they had an idea and then just decided, well, we're just going to throw some rhyming, which they do throughout the movie, which is pretty corny and cheesy, and just throw in some Dr. Seuss references, and that'll be enough. Now, I did laugh a lot, that's true, but not where they really wanted me to. There was this training montage where Cindy is training to fight the mean one, but she's already there for Christmas, right? So she had maybe a couple of days at most to train. So they show her doing a few push-ups and punching some stuffed animals and shooting targets. And that somehow transformed her into this awesome killing machine in a couple of days where she's hitting multiple bullseyes and her strength has increased immensely. I mean, it was just silly. It was like a couple days. Then it ended with like Christmas coming back, and this isn't a spoiler. Let's face it, you're not going to watch this anyway, but Christmas is back, but all this stuff took place on Christmas Eve. So how in the world did everyone in the town, let alone the whole world, find out about this little town of Newville? And then they have videos online going viral and all this stuff, and they talk about how tourism has increased and the locals are celebrating Christmas again. So I was thinking this was some kind of time jump or something. But then we see her back in town again, and she still has some of the injuries that she had when she was fighting the Grinch. So I was like, wait a minute, this is still the same time frame or what? The continuity was off. I mean, it didn't make any sense at all. None of it. This was really bad. Do not watch this unless you stumble across it late at night on like a cable channel like TBS or something if you're just curious. I'm going to give this one a 20% on the rotten scale. They had an idea, that was fine, and then they got lazy and didn't really care about any of the execution stuff. At first I was thinking the people in control of the Dr. Seuss brand should actually sue them because they got so close to what they were doing. I mean, they actually had a character named Dr. Zeus. They actually used lines from the original where Cindy was looking at a picture and she's trying to figure out what was wrong with the Grinch. She's like, maybe his head isn't screwed on right, or maybe his shoes are too tight. It was just really, really cheesy. So I said, you know what? Dr. Seuss, or whoever the owner of the property is, they shouldn't even acknowledge this. They should let this die a very quick death, which is what's going to happen since this is a limited release. And once people start seeing this, no one's going to watch this movie. Again, just so I'm clear, do not go to the movies to see this. Your children acting out the original Dr. Seuss in your living room with absolutely no props and no acting skills is going to be way more entertaining than watching this. Anyway, I'm done ripping this movie up. With that being said, I'll close it out right here. If this is your first time, don't make it your last. This has been a Podbean production, mostly low budget movie reviews with Clarence. And yeah, thank you again for all the support this year. I greatly appreciate it. And things are a little spotty, been busy with the holidays and all of that. So I'm going to try to get another movie in. I know I said I was going to last weekend and didn't do it. So I'm not going to make any promises, but I am going to try and see what's on streaming services and to get that in before that really, really big release next weekend. A huge budget movie that I have to watch. Because it's been like a decade or 15 years or whatever since the first one came out. And I got to see if the wait was worth it. I don't have to tell you what that is. You already know what I'm talking about. So, yeah. So, I'll try to get another movie in on the streaming services this weekend. Because this movie left a really bad taste in my mouth. So, I need to watch something to get it out. But anyway, thank you once again for support. I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.